Welcome to another edition of Litter Media Live. This is a special edition with a special guy. We have Matt Bruning with us, the press secretary of the Ohio Department of Transportation. Of course, used to be a cubby reporter for us at the radio stations back in the day.
A few years ago.
Where have those days gone,
My goodness.
Back when you could get away with anything and be called into the boss's office and be... Does the governor do that to you now?
Absolutely. I can still get away with anything. What are you talking about? Nothing's changed.
It just follows him around everywhere he goes. Coming up in just a moment, the reason you're here is not just to catch up, but to also talk about the big stuff moving slowly through our territory.
Yeah, there's going to be about 24 of these super loads that'll move through our area over the next several months. So be ready.
And once you've seen it, get ready for the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, so on and so forth. Details all just ahead, but first, these words from Hometown Motors Incorporated.
Now that's one fast mower.
Take command of your lawn with Dixie Chopper, the world's fastest lawnmower.
I'm sure the Robertson family would like to see some of the stuff moving its way. In fact, it may have gone past their house. Talking with Matt Bruning about some of the things that are being moved for the Intel project going on to the north of us here, but these came from out of the country, up the Mississippi to the Ohio River, and it's now starting to make its way up through central Ohio.
Yeah, so these are all offloaded at a dock that was created in the Manchester area down in Adams County. It's the old Dayton Power and Light plant location. A gentleman apparently bought the lands, cleared it off, built a dock. And it is a great location, apparently, according to our special hauling permits folks, to offload these giant components for not just Intel, but other plants in the area, and then move them up to central Ohio. So there are a lot of companies that are taking advantage of this, not just Intel. And so those are what you'll see moving over the next couple of months.
Not surprised by this, and I think it kind of started, for me at least, several years ago when Sofidel started coming along. They had those dryers that they were moving through here, and I guess that might be a prelude to what we're about to see, 900,000 pounds worth of product making its way through.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of these will be tipping the scales at that high end of that 900,000. Some of these will be smaller. This first one, for example, will be one of these smaller loads. But it's amazing to see how they're able to maneuver and move these gigantic pieces of equipment. I just stand in awe at how much planning goes into it. For example, we've been in touch with stakeholders along the route, almost 400 different stakeholders that we've had to interact with: school districts, local municipalities, sheriff's departments, county commissioners, engineers. I mean, it just runs the gamut because we have so many people. We want to make sure that we're minimizing the impacts that we're having.
Mm-hmm. And that includes making sure power lines are raised in certain areas, making sure that bridge structures are prepared for this as well. And I know that with 900,000 or less pounds, with the number of wheels and everything upon the trailers, it's equally distributed, which lessens the load, so to speak. But that's still a lot of weight.
It's still a lot of weight, and it's going to move very, very slowly. So, I mean, part of the outreach that we are doing is letting people know as much as we can, especially factual, accurate information, so that people can plan ahead. So we know this is going to be an inconvenience to people. We apologize in advance for that. This is not going to be fun if you're needing to get through one of these areas where the load is moving. But we feel like if we get enough information out there, or as much information out there as we can, then people can at least plan ahead, maybe adjust your schedule or adjust your route if you're possible, if you're able to do that, and the impact will be minimal.
I'm picturing the Matt Bruning of 20 years ago, sitting in traffic waiting for this thing to move.
Absolutely, I'd be there.
That frustration.
That's right. Where is it?
But it does take some time, and you're going to be patient upon people. But you're going to be in awe, I think, of seeing some of this move.
Yeah.
But for like EMS and things of that sort, they need to know what route to take to get around this if they need to.
Yeah, and we've made provisions to be able to get them through So, like on US 52, I know you're familiar with that area of the state. It's tight through there. It's a 2-lane route in Adams and western Scioto County, but we have put in place plans that emergency crews can get through there. We're being escorted by the Ohio State Highway Patrol, so we'll have constant contact with emergency dispatchers. They'll be able to hear when there is a fire truck or an ambulance or another law enforcement agency coming through, and they'll be able to let us know. We'll be able to get to the side of the road or give enough room that they can get through. So all of that has been part of the planning.
I think the largest route that was used would be Route 23 for Sofadel, because they went through the back roads of Adams County and everything to get to this point. This, however, is taking a different stretch.
Yeah. So one of the things that we were not able to get through is some of the overpasses north of Chillicothe. So they're going to use Route 104 to avoid those overpasses. So they'll take 104 through Ross County up to 762 over towards Rickenbacker. A couple of things you may notice is you've been driving 23 and 35 in the Chillicothe area around the bypass. You've noticed that some of the overhead signs have been removed, and there are orange temporary signs on the side of the road, and that's to accommodate these loads. Those were the only overhead obstructions that we had. There are some in Portsmouth as well, but we were able to take care of those, and that adjustment will stay in place until all the loads are done.
Yeah. And you're going to go right through Skunk Holler, Ohio.
Skunk Holler is absolutely on the map.
Yeah.
It's right there. And I'm sure maybe the hauler will give a nice toot of the horn as he goes through Skunk Holler.
Going past the Ramey residence.
Absolutely.
From where I was once raised. You talked about how many people you've had to converse with to make this happen. And you're just part of this, because I can't imagine being the company. Intel had to talk to somebody at first about getting this product, and then they got to figure out how to get it here. So it's got to go beyond 400 people.
Oh, yeah. And that's just the people that are stakeholders that we're dealing with that are impacted. So like school districts, how do we get school buses around it? But you're right. I mean, the planning and the logistics just on their end is astronomical. And then they come to ODOT and they say, well, we need to get this from point A to point B. How do we get there? And that's where our Office of Special Hauling Permits comes in, and they do all of the route analysis. Can the bridges handle the weight? Can the roadways handle the weight? What are the vertical clearances? How do we get, what utility company do we need to work with to move that power line or that fiber optic cable? So there's a lot of coordination and planning that goes into this. We're talking probably, I don't know, by the time you figure in all the stakeholders and everybody else, easily hundreds of people.
Now, of course, you also have events that you already are working on. You've probably got some roads that are being paved, and you've got to change up some of those plans, I imagine.
Yeah, and throw in this wrinkle. All these communities we talk to, well, they have fairs and events and festivals that they're like, well, you can't move on this date because we have this thing happening. So you try to factor all that in. We heard from the Secretary of State's office that said, well, you guys aren't going to move on Election Day, are you? No. There's a lot that goes into trying to get all these dates to match up and then try to get this from point A to point B. Another thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is, where do you park these? You can't just pull over wherever. So we had to predetermine where the parking locations will be, and that will determine where each day begins and each day ends. So for example, this first day, we're going to leave Manchester at 8 a.m. on Wednesday. We will end up in West Portsmouth. And then the next day, West Portsmouth to northern Scioto County, and then northern Scioto County toward the Chillicothe area, and onward into central Ohio by the weekend, hopefully.
And we're projecting to see it around Friday in the Chillicothe area?
Yeah, that's what, if all goes as planned, tentatively scheduled to be in the Chillicothe area, probably sometime on Friday.
Does weather become a factor?
Only snow would be an issue. Rain won't be that big of an issue. It may slow us down a little bit more, but it won't be an issue for moving it.
Yeah. You talked about festivals and fairs and things of that sort, and I just pictured move-in day for the Ross County Fair. would not be the day to have this come through.
Right. Yeah, and that will be part of what's been taken into account.
Yeah.
Jackie Anarino is the person who's kind of been heading up that and coordinating that within ODOT. And I know her email has been burning up with different municipalities sending, well, you can't go this date, or, well, we've got this thing over here. The local high school's got this thing, and, there's prom or whatever, it runs the gamut. It's amazing that we can find days to move it. I think sometimes when you think about how many things are going on across the state, but it's a challenge. Our team's up to it, and they've been doing a wonderful job.
And they'll be doing it 24 more times.
Yeah, at least
23 more times.
At least. The thing about it is, as this routes became known, people were like, well, I've got something I need to move from here to there. I'm going to use that route too, and they get a permit. So, we're trying to not be permit Oprah and just hand out permits left and right, but you got to have some balance to it.
Everybody gets a permit. Hey, look under your seat.
That's right. But so there is coordination and planning that goes with it as well. But it's busy. And you know what? I mean, it's just like with construction. I say, it's a good indicator, good barometer of the economy in Ohio. Yeah. There are other states in this nation that would love to have this problem of a roaring economy and needing to move things. And like, wow, I wish we had that issue here. So while I know it's an inconvenience, certainly look at the long game here.
But it is progress, and the amount of progress in industry that the administration, speaking of the DeWine administration, has been talking about for Ohio, it just continues to explode. And so you have to make ways, and the more easy you make it, the more people want to come, right?
Well, no good deed, right?
Yeah, that's what they say anyway. So
exactly.
Again, we could see something through this area as early as this Friday, if all things go well. If not, maybe by Saturday or Sunday. So keep that in mind as you're traveling out and about throughout the Scioto Valley. Now, if you don't mind, let me take a moment and we'll touch on some other things. Since you left Chillicothe, you went to work for the iHeartMedia up in Columbus. You ended up down in Cincinnati and Columbus, back and forth. You became the State House guy, and then you eventually stumbled into this job for ODOT, and you've been doing a great job at it over the years. This has you on the go a lot. How much do you travel throughout the week?
It depends week to week. A couple weeks ago, I was in Cincinnati for a couple of days for a small bridge project you may have heard of, the Brent Spence Bridge, $3.6 billion project. I've been up to Cleveland, Toledo. It's funny, when I was a news reporter, I thought that was a lot of travel. Yeah. You got to go where the news is. I had no clue how much travel I'd be getting into with this, but I'm doing a lot more. Ohio is a wonderful state. It really is. Wonderful people, just such a diverse landscape from Lake Erie all the way down to the Ohio River. And that, I think, is what has been one of the best parts of this job, is being able to see all of that. I got to see a lot of it as a news reporter, but not to the level that I'm seeing it now.
I know yesterday Governor DeWine was down for a ribbon cutting in Latham, and the event I was covering. And it was neat to see him there. I hadn't seen him at an event since COVID when he was here in Chillicothe. But it's interesting to see these individuals show up and all that comes with it. Because it's just like when the president comes through, the president has his traveling detail and party and everything. It's not much different for maybe a smaller scale for the governor, but still, he's got his people too.
There's a lot that goes into it. I've been a part of a lot of events over the 9 years I've been at ODOT that have involved governors. I've obviously been involved a lot here with the DeWine administration. He brings an entourage with him. But man, he loves to get out and travel. I think that's one of the cool things, even just get to be on the sidelines to see, how much Governor DeWine really loves the state of Ohio and loves getting out and seeing it. He's very much in touch with people. He knows so many people. It's amazing. It's like going to lunch with you and Mike. You can't eat
More
lunch.
so Mike than me.
Well, yeah, you can't eat lunch because everybody's coming up and saying hi. And that's cool. That's what you want with your governor. You want a guy who obviously knows the state, loves being out talking to people. And so, it's interesting doing those events. It's really interesting being on this side of doing those events too. The planning that goes into that.
And many of you have probably seen Matt on TV. I don't know how often it seems you pop up on something on local TV in Columbus, but he lives still here in Chillicothe.
I do.
Do your kids know who you are? I just, you're on the road so much.
True. Yeah. No. And it's funny. I'll be watching the news, and part of it is I just want to see what they do. But like I'll know that I'm going to be on a segment coming up, and it's like at first it was, "Hey, Dad, you're on TV." Now it's like, there he is again.
This is funny because I'm like, "Hey, honey, Bruning's on TV," and she's like, "Yeah, okay. Whatever."
Exactly.
I'm enjoying my book that I got from Wheatberry Books.
Thank you.
So,
Plug.
A little throughout segue there. But this has been a cool opportunity for you to get to do this kind of thing. And I know when you were just a cubby reporter, you were finding yourself making waves on national TV and everything. That was pretty cool. And of course, now it's worldwide.
I know, it's crazy. So. And I never thought I'd find anything I loved more than radio. It was always my first love, and being able to do that at age 15, starting at WBEX, that was like the world to me.
Yeah.
Still is. I still love the radio profession, but this has been an incredible journey. This is my new passion, to be able to work with the media every day, but about something that I'm passionate about. A lot of what we do at ODOT is about safety. It's about, the economy and moving things. It's about moving people, not just cars, but moving people and getting people to places they need to be. It has a lot of impact on people's lives every day. And to be able to see that is incredible. So to be a part of it is humbling.
And to be able to verse it as well is very crucial. And I couldn't have asked for a better person to step into that position than
well, thank you. Right, I appreciate that.
And that's not because I know him. It's just I've seen him grow up and all that kind of jazz. So I did get a text. I want to make sure that I don't have a text here from Mike Smith making sure I ask you a question. Nope, you're lucky.
Okay.
You're lucky it was from Dan.
I didn't tell him we were doing this.
It was from Dan Jr.
Okay.
So, and you don't want to know what Dan Jr. was. Probably or at least we don't want to show it on TV here. So, Matt, thank you so much for coming in. And he even actually walked here from the ODOT garage down the road. Thank you to
transportation.
District 9 for letting you park your car there and walk
Absolutely.
all this way.
That's the beautiful thing about working at ODOT. People will say, well, where do you work? I'm like, well, my home base office is in Columbus, but I have an office in 88 counties because we have a garage everywhere. And it's awesome to be able to walk in and see our people who are out there working hard every day. So anytime I get a chance to come down to District 9 or go to one of the county garages, I absolutely take advantage of it.
And you'll see him also with The Loop. You and your co-host, I can't recall her name, Renee, doing The Loop, which is an informational program. It ranges between 5 and 15 minutes long.
Oh, we never go 15 now.
Is that right?
Yeah, 5 minutes, and I'm starting to pound the desk like, guys, we got to cut something. We try to keep it short. Yeah, we try to keep it short. But yeah, we put that out every Friday morning. 7 a.m. You can find it on our social media channels at ODOT. You can also subscribe to get that by email at transportation.ohio.gov, where you can also get travel advisories and press releases and things like that. And it's just a cool way to just keep people in touch with what we are doing. I mean, it's your tax dollars that are funding ODOT, and we want you to see how that's happening and how that's working. So it's a great little tool for us to be able to talk to our internal audience, our ODOT employees, but also show the people of Ohio what we're doing to further the safer, efficient routes that we want out there on the state of Ohio.
And to educate us all on roundabouts.
Roundabouts are amazing.
I notice there's no roundabouts along the route for this.
There were a couple.
Is that right?
Ironically enough, we had to avoid them because these are just so big. But yes, trucks and large farm equipment can get through roundabouts. It's a myth that they can't, but they can. They use the truck pad in the inside. These being 200 plus feet long, even the truck apron is not big enough to handle them in some cases. So,
And if you've been along the ones on 159 and 180 there, I've seen trucks using them and farm machinery as well. So we know that it can be done.
Well, I think there's a myth that they're not supposed to use that curbing on the inside, because we get that a lot. The feedback is, well, the truck had to jump up over the curb. Like that's
why
what
it's
it's designed for. It's supposed to do that. Indeed.
Matt Bruning, thank you for stopping by.
Anytime, Dan. It's a pleasure.
And thank you for watching as well with this hopefully informational segment for you on Litter Media Live.